I swear I've seen someone exactly like this character. Who was it? Oh, yeah, it was Harry Potter. Have you ever said something like that before? Well, if you have, that's the power of archetypes. Archetypes are universal story patterns that appear across cultures and generations. In this video, we'll explore archetypal criticism and how it helps us understand stories on a deeper level, and how we can apply it to George Orwell's Animal Farm. First off, before talking about all that archetypal criticism stuff, let's understand the basic concepts of literary theory. Literary theory is a set of tools that helps us understand and think more deeply about stories. Each theory gives us a different way to look at a book or a movie, kind of like putting on a different glasses to see new meanings in each story. Archetypal criticism is one of the different glasses that we would have to put on. It focuses on recurring myths, patterns, and character types, which are called archetypes, and these show up again and again in different stories from all around the world. Now, let's get to talking about archetypal criticism. Archetypal criticism is a type of literary theory that explores how stories from all over the world share common patterns, symbols, and character types. These recurring elements are rooted in shared human experiences and are part of what psychologist Carl Jung called the collective unconsciousness, a kind of mental blueprint that all humans have, filled with universal story elements which we all recognize. For example, we can take a movie. In a movie, if you feel like the plot has reoccurred in another movie, this is what he meant by his theory of collective unconsciousness. This theory helps us understand how literature connects to deep, everlasting ideas that appear again and again across cultures and time periods. Now, for example, we can take the hero. Heroes are usually the good guy, the protagonist, so Harry Potter, Spider Man, or even Batman. We can also take the villain, which are the antagonists, for example, Voldemort or Joker. And lastly, there's also a mentor. A mentor is a guiding figure, such as Yoda, Dumbledore, etc. Now, in every archetypal criticism, we always look at the characters, plot, and symbols as they are all reoccurring. Some things we look at are archetypal characters, such as universal figures like the hero, mentor, trickster, scapegoat, or villain. We also look at archetypal symbols, such as objects or images with deep cultural meaning, like the forbidden fruit, the journey, or the fall from grace. Another thing we look at are archetypal plots. These are recurring story patterns, such as the hero's journey, a detective story, or even the story of rags to riches. Now, let's talk about our main topic, how we can relate archetypal criticism to Animal Farm. So let's start off with archetypal characters. Old Major, the wise pig, is our mentor. Old Major is the source of wisdom and inspiration for all the animals. He introduces the idea of revolution and paints a vision of a better future where all animals are equal. Like Yoda from Star Wars or Gandalf from The Lord of Rings, Old Major himself doesn't take part in the action, but his teachings and ideals set the story in motion. He represents the archetype of the wise mentor who guides others, providing the knowledge and motivation they need to begin their journey. His speech is the spark that leads to the rebellion, showing how powerful a mentor's words can actually be. Now let's talk about Napoleon as the tyrant slash corrupted hero. Napoleon starts as one of the leaders fighting for animal equality, but as he gains more power, he starts to change. He becomes selfish, manipulative, and cruel, putting his own interests above everyone else's. This transformation fits the archetype of the tyrant or corrupted hero, someone who starts with good intentions but is ultimately destroyed by their own ambition and desire for control. This relates to Macbeth, as Macbeth, once a loyal subject of the king, starts to get controlled by his ambition and which eventually leads to his downfall. Napoleon's rise and fall show how power can change people and how leaders can become the very thing that they once fought against. Now let's move on to Snowball as the tragic hero slash scapegoat. Snowball is smart, creative, and genuinely wants to improve the life of the farm. He comes up with ideas like building the windmill to make work easier for everyone. However, he is betrayed and forced out by Napoleon, who then blames him for everything that goes wrong. This makes Snowball the scapegoat, a character who is unfairly blamed for problems to distract others from the real issues. Snowball's fate is tragic because, despite his good intentions, he is punished and becomes an outcast, highlighting how society sometimes target innocent people to cover up their own failures. We also have Squealer, who is known as the trickster. Squealer is the farm's master of propaganda. He constantly twists the truth, changes the rules, and uses clever language to convince the animals that Napoleon is always right no matter the cause. As the trickster, Squealer uses his intelligence and communication skills not for good, but to manipulate others and keep the pigs in power. He represents how words and information can be used to deceive people and control what they believe. We also have Boxer, who is known as the Innocent. Boxer is the strongest and most hardworking animal on the farm. He always believes the best about others and follows the rules without question, repeating slogans like Napoleon is always right. His innocence and loyalty make him easy to exploit. When he is no longer useful, the leaders betray him, showing how those in power can take advantage of good, honest people. Boxer's story is a warning about the dangers of blind trust and the vulnerability of innocent in a corrupt system. Lastly, we have the sheep, who represent mindless followers, as they blindly repeat the slogans of Napoleon's always right and four legs good, two legs bad, without thinking critically and just following the others. Now, let's talk about the archetypal symbols and plots. First off, we have the fall. The story of the Animal Farm follows the classic archetype of the fall. At first, the animals work together to create a perfect society where everyone is equal and free from human cruelty. This utopian dream, however, soon unravels as the pig gain more power and start acting just like the humans they overthrew. The farm's descent into tyranny and oppression mirrors the biblical story of the fall from grace in the Garden of Eden, as well as the collapse of great civilizations throughout history. This pattern warns that even the best intentions can be corrupted and that power often leads to downfall. We also have the journey. The animal's experience on the farm also fits the archetype of cyclical journey. They begin oppressed by humans, rise up in revolution, and briefly enjoy hope and freedom. But as soon as the pigs take control, the animals find themselves back in the state of oppression, this time under their own kind. This cycle reflects how societies can repeat the same mistakes, rising and falling in a never ending loop. It is a reminder that without learning from the past, history is always doomed to repeat itself. Now let's talk about archetypal symbols in Animal Farm. First off are the Seven Commandments. These rules start as a symbol of hope and fairness, representing the animal's dream of a just society. Over time, the pigs secretly changed the commandments to suit themselves, twisting the original ideals. This gradual corruption symbolizes the loss of innocence and how easily good intentions can be distorted when those in power are not held accountable. It is a common archetypal theme, the perversion of ideals. Now we talk about the farmhouse. The farmhouse stands for power and temptation. At first, the animals agreed to avoid it, seeing it as a symbol of everything wrong with human rule. But as the pigs move in and begin living like the humans, the farmhouse becomes a symbol of how those in power can be seduced by luxury and privilege. Whoever lives there ends up repeating the same mistakes as the previous rulers, showing how power can corrupt anyone. Next up is the windmill. The windmill is introduced as a project that will make life better for everyone, promising less work and more comfort. In reality, it becomes a tool for the pigs to control the other animals and keep them busy. The windmill's repeated destruction and rebuilding symbolize false hope and fake progress. It is a distraction that benefits only the pigs, showing how leaders sometimes promise change but only serve themselves. Lastly is the whip. The whip is a powerful symbol of tyranny and control. When the pigs take it up after the rebellion, it shows that the cycle of oppression has not been broken, only the rulers have just changed. The whip passing from humans to pig highlight how easily the oppressed can become oppressors, and how tools of power and violence stay the same, no matter who is in charge. Even the ending, where the animals can't tell the difference between pigs and humans, is a classic symbolic moment, showing that the cycle has just come to a full circle. Orwell uses these character types and story patterns to show big ideas that everyone can relate to, like how power can change people for the worse, how friends can betray each other, how innocent and hardworking people can get hurt, or how history repeats itself. By using these familiar patterns, Animal Farm feels like stories and myths from all over the world, which helps it stay important and meaningful to many different people. So, thank you for watching this video on archetypal criticism and how it relates to the novel Animal Farm. Next steps for you are to try to find places where you can see archetypal criticism being used, whether it be in a movie or even in a used newspaper. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time on Vavo's Analysis Show.